Hello, welcome back. This is Sheepishly here once again. Today I have the final crafting video for this league. 3.25 Settler of Calgary. It's been a good league. So I decided to finally do the crafting, the research, as well as spend all the divines to craft, you guessed it, the cluster jewels, like I promised. So I actually spent the last week working on this, and I've dumped about 350 divines just to test things out, see how it works, get a feel of the craft. And what I have to show for it is 3 perfectly crafted 35% cluster jewels. Now, these are not probably the best ones you can craft. You can see that these all come with, well, of course, T1 intelligence, perfectly rolled, 35% increase effect, as well as 12 maximum energy shield, right? These are all perfect T1 mods. But the last suffix, so this is a flex slot, it can either be T1 or attributes if you're in stacking, it can be T1 attack speed if you want a bit more DPS, or it can be T1 or resistances if you want a little bit more of defense or just help out with, rounding out your gearing a little bit more, right? So with the way I've been crafting these, the last mod, right, the last suffix is a bit of a random. You get about 1 in 3 chance to hit each of the 3 that I just mentioned. Here for crafting these 3, they all hit the all attributes, so hey, the game is really telling me to go in stacking. But I have learned a lot crafting these, and these are not easy to craft. I think the ones that has the attack speed as the force mod goes for about 200 to 250 divines. And if you really want that jewel, can you craft it for cheaper? Yes, you can. I think you can comfortably craft one of these for like maybe 40 to 50 divines. But it takes hours and hours and hours. And you can get very unlucky that 40 divines cost can easily snowball to 80 divines if you just don't hit, right? Because it's a very, very rare kind of like outcome to get exactly the right jewel that you want. Can you craft this and make money for it? Yes, you can. If you follow what I'm about to show you, you can probably actually make a lot of money for it. For something like a 250 jewel, you can probably make 100 to 150 divines. But I don't recommend you do it, because for all the hours that you spend, you're much better off actually playing the game, do some 20 divine per hour farm or 30 divine per hour farm, and make money that way. I've just about lost my mind using alteration spams, spamming fossils, spamming harvests, spamming exalts and annuls. I think this is like the last straw. I think I'm pretty done with the league. That's how hard this craft was, and that's how boring this craft is. I'm just standing in my hideout, spam clicking a button. It is not enjoyable at all. But hey, if you don't mind that, if you can stomach it, there's a lot of money to be made with cluster jewels, especially with how I do it. Well, without further ado, we're going to go through the math. I've prepared some slides for you guys to really illustrate why I believe what I'm about to show you is the most optimal way of crafting this. And trust me, you have not seen this before. I have not seen anyone mention what I'm about to show you guys before. Not that people don't know about it, mind you. I just think that it's just not something that's being well known and that's being shared with the community, which I will be doing today. And then I'll be jumping over to Craft of Exile to give some examples for how I actually go through the crafting process. And then finally, at the end of the video, I'm going to tag on some of the VODs from when I was actually crafting this. Keep in mind, I'll probably just jump to the highlights because it's about 6 to 7 hours long. And you trust me, you don't want to watch me spam clicking harvest for 6-7 hours, getting frustrated that I don't hit the cluster jewel that I want. Okay, sounds good. I'll see you guys later, and please enjoy the rest of the video. Okay, let's go through the math for how to craft the 35% large cluster jewels. So here I have 4 quadrants, one for each of the mods we want, your prefixes, your suffixes. So each of the 4 mods, I've listed them out here. So obviously, prefix 1, it's going to be the 35% increase effect. That's the cluster that we really need. And here I have different methods of crafting these, right? Because increase effect doesn't have any text to it. You either buy one that's already fractured, which means, the method is fracture, the probability is 100% because it's already fractured on. Or you can exalt slam on this mod, which later in step 2 or 3, which means that there's a 2.4% chance of Exalt slamming this on. Right, so it's the same way for the other mods as well. So say for prefix 2, we want the 12 max energy shield. You can either fracture these on, which is 100%. You can use harvest, reforge defense, which is 7.1%, or you can exalt this on, which is 2.4%. Right, same odds as the 35% increased effect. For the suffixes, we have intelligence. We can either fracture these on, we can fossil this on, which is 9.4%. Now this looks pretty good, but this is actually not a good option, and I will explain why later. For the suffixes, there's more suffixes in the pool, so to exalt the suffix is only 1.92%. So here's one of the things to remember is that it's actually much harder to hit the suffixes than the prefixes because there's less prefixes in the pool. Finally, for the last suffix, we actually have 3 options. We have attack speed, we have all resistance, we have all attributes. These are all viable suffixes. If you hit any of them, it's 100 divine drill. In fact, if you hit the attack speed one, it's probably looking at 250 divines, right? So that's the most expensive one, and that's the one that most people want. But that's also the hardest one to hit, and the reason is because it is much easier to leave the 4th slot open. So if you don't care which of the 3 you get, you have a 5.5% chance of hitting this, right? If you're only going for attack speed, this 5.5% goes down to something like 1.6%. And that's an impossible craft. I'm going to come out and say it here, you're not going to be targeting attack speed in this craft. You are kind of just going to take whatever you get because it is so hard to hit the exact 4 mods you want onto this without having some leeway with this. And the thing here is also there's no good ways of targeting these. The fracture, you can obviously fracture these on, but then that reduces the odds of hitting the other ones. And then any harvest related stuff is also a bad option because you can harvest speed, for instance, for attack speed, but that's actually a very expensive harvest and your chance of hitting is not that great. Okay, so this is kind of the setup. So these are the probabilities, and what you're going to realize is that you can fracture on one of the mods. Yeah, that's one mod out of 4 done. You can use some deterministic way of using, say, harvest or fossil to put on the other mod. That's the second mod. What about mod 3 and 4? There's nothing you can do there besides double exalt slamming it, right? So this is why I put up top here. I have this exalt counter, and this is an indication of how many exalts we expect on average you're gonna need to hit the last 2 mods. Now you may say that, hey, that's not always the case. Sometimes if I use harvest reforge, I just get 3 perfect mods. I'm like, great, that's fantastic, but that doesn't change the fact that the odds of hitting that extra 3rd lucky mod is still the same as like exalt slamming it, right? That's the same odds. So just keep that in mind as we go into the next few slides because I'm gonna discuss all the potential options with you guys, or at least all the optimal ones, and you can have a look to see which one's best. Most common one that people suggest is actually fracturing the 35% increase effect. Most of these jewels are crafted this way, and this is actually the second best option, and I will go through why. Okay, so here if we follow the quadrants, we have the list of steps, step 1, 2, 3, 4 written out for you guys. So step 1, we're gonna fracture the 35% increase effect, probability 100%. Well, it's not really 100%, but if you're gonna fracture it, it means that it's already on the item, right? We're not gonna count the cost of fracturing the item. I'm gonna assume that you can buy one, or you can, 1-in-4 fracture it, however you want. Let's assume that you have this base item set up already. So you have 1 mod onto it already, fantastic. What about the other 3 mods? Well, you actually have 2 options. You can either harvest on the 12 max energy shield as step 2, or you can fossil on the 8 intelligence as step 2. But I recommend the harvest strategy. Why, you may ask? Because it looks like harvest is 7.14%, which is lower than fossil, which is 9.4%. That's a great call out. The reason is that this fossil is very expensive. Yep, fossils are expensive because harvest is cheap, right? At 75 blue juice per craft, that's like nothing. That's like a chaos or something like that, right? That's like less than a chaos. The fundamental fossil, which you have to use for attributes, costs 20 for divine. Yeah? So in terms of cost, this is a very expensive method. But if in any case in the future, if the cost of these 2 methods are relatively similar, then yes, by all means, you can switch them around and use fossils to target the 8 intelligence first. But there's a second problem. With fossils, it increases the weighting. With harvest, it guarantees one mod. We only want to hit one of these mods, right? If I use fossil, I'll hit my 8 intelligence. But what's going to happen is that when you use a fossil, you're going to hit 8 intelligence, and you're going to get another attribute mod suffix. You're going to maybe get another attribute mod prefix. These all reduce the chances of you getting lucky and using one fossil and hitting the 8 intelligence and the 12 max energy shield, right? That's kind of one of the lucky outcomes that we want. We don't have that problem with harvest. You click harvest, it can only give you one defensive mod. It rerolls the other 2 mods, almost as if you're using an Exile on this item, and then you can get lucky and hit 12 max energy shield and 8 intelligence in one harvest click, and that's happened to me many times. So we want to optimize those chances. So the best way to do it, your harvest defense, step 2, get your 12 max energy shield up. What next? Well, you're kind of stuck. Step 3, you're going to be Exile slamming on your intelligence. That's 1.92% chance. Trust me, there's no better way to do it. You just have to do it. That's a 1 in 50 hit. Okay? 1 in 50. And lastly, step 4, you can Exile on the very last mod. It could be either attack speed or res or all attributes. And because we have 3 options, that's why it's higher at 5.54%. If you target just one of them, this is going to go down to like 1.6%, right? Which is very unlikely. So, keeping all that in mind, if we do this perfectly, how many Exalt slams do we need? We need 940 Exalt slams. That is an absolutely mind-boggling amount of Exalt slams. And keep in mind, it's not just a cause of Exalts. You have annulment shard, you have a nose, you have all the other ancillary costs. With this build, it is absolutely crazy. But yeah, this is the second best method, right? 940 Exalt slams. What's the best method? Well, it is actually fracturing the intelligence. Yeah, the reason we do this is because it is much easier to Exile slam on a prefix than it is to Exile slam on a suffix. So if we can fracture the intelligence, and then we still use harvest, right? That's step 1. And we still use harvest to do max energy shield, step 2. Look at that. We only need to hit a 2.46% Exalt slam, rather than, the previous slide, which we need a 1.92%. That is a massive saving in terms of Exalts, in terms of how many Exalt slams you need to do. In fact, we go down from 940 to 734 Exalt slams needed. Not too bad. It's still a ridiculous amount of money, yeah, because this is like 74 divines. It's about 10 to 1 at the moment. Still a ridiculous amount of money, but hey, it's much more palatable compared to the other one. What's a bad option? Well, a bad option is if you fracture it for somehow max energy shield. You really don't want to do this. You do not want to start the craft with a fractured max energy shield. It is not good. Alright? Why? You may ask, you're still telling me I only need 734 exalts. That's true. But the only reason I say this is bad is because step 1 is a fractured max energy shield. Look at step 2. You have no other option but to fossil on the 8 intelligence. And this is a tough step. This is very expensive. I do not recommend it. The only time I recommend it are when your fundamental fossils are really, really cheap. Yeah, if your fundamental fossils are like 1C each, go for it. It's not too bad, right? It's the same odds as the other one. It's maybe even a little bit better compared to the optimal strategy. But fundamental fossils are never that cheap, right? So this actually comes up being more expensive in the end. But just going through the process, similar, you fracture the max energy shield, you fossil on the 8 intelligence, and then step 3, you slam on 35% increase effect. Step 4, you slam on whichever one you get. Luck of the draw. I just want to pause here and mention that even though for, say, the Exile slam steps, I say step 3, you want to slam on increase effect, and step 4, you want to slam on the rest of the suffixes. When you're crafting, if your first Exalt is attack speed, and then you're missing 35% increase effect, just slam it again, because you have a 2.5% chance of hitting anyways. Right? The order of this step 3 and 4, doesn't matter as much because these are prefixes and suffixes. They don't talk to each other, right? It doesn't matter if I if I slam on my last prefix first, or if I slam on my last suffix first. If I have one open prefix, one open suffix, it's the same thing, right? So don't worry about the step 3 and 4 so much when these are open. Okay, so, but hey, you might be saying, I don't really want all attributes, right? You might be like me, you hit all attributes 3 times, you're wondering, what are you doing with your life? You're saying, hey, I only want attack speed. Well, I've got you covered. This is how to craft forcing an attack speed on your 4th mod as your suffix 2. There's 2 options, right? This is my method 1. We start with a fracture on 35% increase effect, the most common way to start this. Attack speed has a whopping weight of 250%. Has a whopping weight of 250 for a suffix, which means there's a 1.6% chance to hit T1 attack speed. This is one of the lowest weighted mods in the pool, which means that we have no other choice but to target it using Harvest, right? Which is not bad odds. 9%. It's a bit expensive. I think this should be vivid, right? So it's actually yellow instead of blue. So it's a bit more expensive, but we can target this. 9%. Once we hit that, what do we have to do? We have to double Exile slam. Again, step 3 and 4, the order doesn't matter. You just slam it twice, hope for the best. But you see how this time, because we don't have any options, right? So if you go to the previous way of crafting, we have 3 different options for the last slam. So we have 5.5% odds. We don't have that here. The odds are 2.46% and 1.95%. That's it. How many exiles do we need? 2,100. 2,100 exiles. You're gonna be spending 200 divines alone in just exalt slamming to be able to craft this jewel. Absolutely ridiculous, right? I would not recommend anyone to try this. You could make money. Hell, you could get lucky and make money, right? Even though I say it's 200 divines, the realistic cost is probably a fraction of that because you can get lucky on your harvest crafts and then save on some exalts. But look, you're gonna be here for like hours rolling harvest juices trying to craft this. It's not worth your time, trust me. But there's a slightly better way to do this, right? So similar to what we showed before, the optimal of doing this is not to start with a 35% increase effect. It's to start with your 8 intelligence, right? Let's fracture this first. And the second step, same as before, we go for the attack speed harvest craft. And then lastly, we double slam on the prefixes. The prefixes, again, they have a higher odds of hitting the prefixes at 2.4 and 2.46%. By the way, the reason you would have seen these, so even though these 2 mods have the same weight, the reason these probabilities are different is because in step 3, when you slam on the first prefix, they can choose a mod from any of the pool of the prefix pools, right? That's why it's 2.4%. But when it comes to step 4, since you already have the 35% increase effect, that has been taken out of the pool, so the chance of hitting is actually larger, right? I think it's actually maybe larger than 2.46%. I may have gone the math wrong here, but it is significantly, well, not significantly, it is a little bit larger to hit this mod. So when you do it sequentially, right, this one will be higher odds. Putting this all together, 1.7k exalts. Just don't do this to yourself. Trust me, do not do this to yourself. Save yourself some sanity, some of your wrist. Just go do a farm that does like 20 divines an hour and farm for like 2 days. You can afford this. It will actually save you from, I don't know, a week of madness. I was doing this for like a week to test this for you guys. I was going crazy by the end. Okay, so just taking it back to the best, or what I think is the best way of doing this. There's a couple of ways that we're doing to optimize this craft. The first one is recognizing that prefixes are easier to hit than suffixes. So we want to leave a prefix, at least one prefix open for Exile Slam because it is easier to slam on a prefix than suffix. That's one. The second one is that we are targeting 3 different mods for the last suffix rather than just one mod. So we are making life a bit easier for us. So we have instead of having 1.6% chance to hit the last mod, we have 5.5% chance, right? That's the second way. The third way is that for step 3 and 4, right, by the time we finished, having a fractured mod, we finished having a harvest slam, we have an open prefix and an open suffix at the same time. And this is optimal because now for both prefix and suffix, some of the pool is blocked out, right? If you look at suffixes, all of the intelligence mods have been blocked out from the pool, so there's higher odds of hitting. If you look at the prefix, right, your energy shield has been blocked out of the pool, so it's easier to hit the 35% increase effect, right? That's the 3 ways we're doing to optimize the craft, and still it's gonna take 334 exalts, right? Again, it's not the actual number of exalts you'll probably take. This is just an indication for how hard the craft is. Okay, coming over to Craft of Exile, I will do a sequence for what the optimal crafting method is. At least that's what I think is optimal. And then I'll go through some examples of common kind of like configurations and how to approach those situations. After that, I'll attach the VOD of me actually crafting these things with some commentary. But to be honest, if you watch this section, you should know what to do for the crafting. And if you skipped ahead to this section before you watch the math bit, I highly recommend you to watch the math section as well, because that gives the explanation for how we calculated that this is the most optimal way of crafting this drill. Step 1, we buy the clean cluster drill here, which is, well, 12 passives, of course, eye level 84. No, nothing special there. We are going to alteration, spam this with augments where needed. And the thing that we want to get to is we want a prefix of 35% increase effect, and we want a suffix of intelligence, T1 intelligence. This shouldn't take you too long. Well, it will take you a long time. It's about 1,000 something augments. Sorry, it's got about 1,000 something alterations, but it doesn't cost as much, right? It's probably 2 divines to hit this at the current prices. Don't do what I did. I try to use fossils, like like fundamental fossils, to target attributes to try to get to a rare item straight away. I spent about 50 divines more than I should have on these. After you get these 2 mods, you're gonna divine the intelligence to perfect. You're gonna rego, and then you're gonna exalt. So now to make it 4 mods, and the reason we make it 4 mods is so that we can fracturing orb it. So the fracturing orb is a 1 in 2 chance to hit, right? 50%, because you can either hit the 35% increase effect, or you can hit the T1 intelligence. Both of them are viable alternatives. But because the most optimal way to do this is by hitting the intelligence, I'm just gonna show you the intelligence variant. Well, the first fracturing orb failed, second one also failed, third one failed, fourth one failed, fifth one hit, but that's not the one we want. Let's just keep going until we hit the intelligence, which might not happen. Oh, I think we got it, but I went back too far. There we go. Okay, let's say that we fracture the intelligence. Step 1, A, done. Step 1, done. We've got the fracture. Everything looks good. Let's scale this. We have to make this rare actually. The second step is to target the second mod that we want, which in this case is defense. So we head over to harvest, reforge, defense. We're gonna spam this until we hit T1 energy shield. There we go. And when you're going through this process, if you have any other prefix or suffix that comes up, you need to know that. Yeah. You need to use a Nomen Orb and pray that you hit that, because you need a clean item to go forwards. Okay, we got lucky there on the first go. We've annulled it. This is a clean item. What's the next 2 steps? Well, it's actually very simple. Step 3, you slam on the 35% increased effect, which is a 1 in 40 chance to hit. Let's just pretend that we slammed it 40 times with exalts, and we got that. Fantastic. What's step 4? You slam them again for one of the 3 suffixes you want. Yeah, so this is now a 1 in 20 roughly chance to hit. So I'll just do the slams and demonstrate how this works. First one failed, second one's no good, third one's no good. The fourth one, there you go. Add a small passive, grants plus 4% to all element resistances. Done. Now you have a 150 divine drill in your pocket. That's how it works from the most optimal setup. Okay, cool. Now, some things I want to mention is that a lot of the times the steps may be a little bit out of sequence. Yeah, so you might actually end up hitting, say, for instance, you hit T1 energy shield, and then you actually on the next slam you hit your suffix first, right? Say that you hit your suffix first and it's like attack speed. You're like, this is fantastic. Don't worry, just slam on the 35%. It doesn't matter which one you do first. That's it's always a 1 in 40 to hit the last prefix. So yeah, you don't have a choice there. If you get the suffix first, congratulations. You still have to slam it 40 more times on average to get the 35% increase effect. Cool, sounds good. Now let's just undo this a bunch of times because what can also happen, is that if we start from, for example, the 35%, right? What happens if we start from the 35% as the fracture? It's actually a very similar process, right? So we hit the 35% increase effect. We are going to head over to harvest. And there's two ways of going about this. You can use fossils to do this, which I do not recommend. The reason is because, let's just demonstrate here. So fundamental fossil will give you attributes. Yeah. So this is something that we want because now we have a prefix. We want to go for a suffix. You see, when you use your fundamental fossils, it normally gives you 2 attributes as mods, right? This is actually quite detrimental because even if I hit, let me just go through a couple of times. Okay, so for instance, here, right? Imagine we hit T1 intelligence instead of T1 dexterity. Because the way fundamental fossils work, you're most likely going to hit another suffix attribute, or sometimes you can hit, like you do now, sometimes you can hit a prefix attribute, right? Because the fundamental fossil makes all attribute mods 10 times more likely. What that means is that you are much less likely to get a lucky slam, as you can do sometimes with harvest, where you get the mod you want, but also you get the second mod you want as well. So right, you're kind of skipping one of the exalt slam steps. What I mean by that is that if I'm rolling defenses in harvest, right, I could get lucky and hit T1 energy shield and T1 intelligence, right? Because T1 intelligence still has a 1.92% chance of coming up. That hasn't been changed. But if I'm using my fundamental fossils, I hit my T1 intelligence, I have a very, very small chance of getting a T1 energy shield on my prefixes side because, it's the weighting has been changed, the relative weighting has been changed by the fundamental fossils. So I don't recommend fundamental fossils. I recommend defense reforge, even if you have the 35% increase effect fractured. So let's give this a couple of goes until we hit T1 energy shield. So when you're going about this, sometimes you can hit T1 intelligence just randomly as well, right? If that happens, just slam it. Exalts are still pretty cheap. Just sometimes you get lucky. It's not the most optimal way of doing it, but hey, if it works, it works. Okay, so here we have 2 prefixes done, and then we have an extra suffix. We just have to pray a no. Okay, we failed. We can just undo because it's craft of Exile. Failed again. There we go. Again, a cling item. The cling item here, we have the issue of we're both prefixes. So my first slam on the suffix doesn't have a blocker that's going to help me increase the chance of getting the mods we want. But there's nothing you can do. You just have to slam and hope. Okay, that's no good. No good. No good. So you just keep on slamming this, right? So, and what I mean by that is you slam it, it doesn't work out. You try to annul to save the item. You failed. Well, you start from the reforge. This is why this method this is why crafting the jewel is ridiculously annoying, because when you fail, you have to start from scratch almost. But let's say that we get lucky and we hit intelligence. T1. Done. What to do next? Well, you slam on the last one. And if you fail, you try to annul. Okay, never mind, your item's dead. You know what I mean? It's like I absolutely hated every second of this craft. I was, yeah, I know I said it many times, to save you some sanity, just go buy it. Hey, whoever's crafting this, good on ya. Thank you for doing a community service so that the rest of us don't have to experience the pain that is rolling 35% cluster jewels. If you charge me 100 divine premium to buy these, take my money, I say. Right? I never ever want to craft cluster jewels in a league ever again. After this experience, I've been testing it for about a week. I'm all but ready to quit this league because of this craft. But hey, if you can stomach it, there is very good money to be made here, right? Because we've just hit a jewel that's 150 divines, and I've created 3 of these, right? 3 of these 100 divine plus jewels with about 300 divines, so I did break even, but I was experimenting, I was doing all kind of random stuff. You can make one of these, right? Which I think between 100 and 200 divine jewels, you can make these for, I believe, 30 to 40 divines. I'm not joking, I seriously believe you can do that, right? That's possible, but you're going to be spending hours and hours and hours crafting these jewels. It's so annoying. And you can get unlucky, and that 40 divines could turn to 80 divines, could turn to 120 divines. It's all luck based, right? It's the worst type of crafting in the game. There's no skill involved, you just have to be lucky. Well, there's some skill involved. I'm showing you the more optimal way to do it, but even when optimized, you are not really, you're still beholden to Exalt RNGs, right? So, well, that's that. I know I've been ranting a lot just because of how annoying this craft is. But yeah, I'll put in the VODs after this so you can have a look to see what my experience was like. I'll do some voiceover as well. But this should be all you need, right? So focus on the slides that I shared before. Have a look at that for the process of how to craft this. The process is simple. The hardest thing is understanding, right, which is the most optimal way to do things, and understanding why the optimal way is the way it is, right? Once you understand that, you can adapt this craft to craft any cluster jewel that you want, right? I'm not teaching you how to craft this one specifically. I believe the methods can be adapted to be anything to craft anything you want. It's all about figuring out which mod goes where and how to force the mods onto the jewel. Okay, thanks for watching. I will see you guys in a second when I bring the VODs up. Okay, now let's go through some of the VODs for crafting the cluster jewels. This is actually showing my terrible luck with fracturing. So just a lesson here, I try to use fossils to craft the 4 mod clusters before you go into fractures, right? So you do want to have hit 2 good mods, which I think should be 35% increase effect, as well as T1 intelligence, so you have a 50% chance of hitting your fractures. I didn't do that. I used fossils. I spent about, I think, 50 divines more than I needed to if I just used the good old alteration augment spam. But anyways, we got there, and we have 8 ghosts, right? So I thought that I would prepare 8 attempts, so I will get 4 jewels I can craft and demonstrate for you guys. That's not what's going to happen here. Just be mindful of that. So the first jewel we have, okay, we missed it. Well, you can see that we missed it. It's not too good. The second jewel as well. So a lot of these you can see that they don't have 35% increased effect on them. And the reason why is because, well, like I said, I used the fossil method, which is terrible. You don't want to do this. You definitely want to use the alteration one so you can control which other mods you put on your jewel before you go into this before you go into this fractured orb gambling session. Bam, hit. We missed again. Sorry, I didn't hit that one. That's unfortunate. Let me just speed this forward a little bit here. what do we do here? Well, we missed the third one, 3 in a row. That's pretty unlucky. Like I said, the hit rate is about 50%. On the fourth one, so this is one where we actually do really want to hit. Oh, there we go. We hit the 35% increase effect. So this is like the perfect example of what we want the drill to look like. We have 35% increase effect. We have T1 intelligence. We have 2 random mods, and we get lucky and don't hit the 2 random mods. So, yay, good for us. Speeding ahead a little bit. So the fifth one, I think we missed this one as well. Oh no, we hit. Brilliant. And I might just let the video play out because I think we miss the next 3. Yep. And what's really sad is that we have 2 drills that I prepared which has 3 mods, so it's literally a 75% chance to succeed. And we failed that. So that's the first one. You can see that 3 mods is good. We have 3 desirable mods. We hit the only one that's undesirable. Same as this one, we have 3 desirable mods, and we will hit the only mod that's undesirable. There you go. That's just sad. But as you can imagine, I was pretty tilted at this point, so I think I went to bed that day, just having not finished the crafting. Okay, sounds good. Let's move on to see some of these harvest rerolls and what they look like. Okay, welcome back. I might just let the video play here so you can see on screen. This is kind of my typical setup. I have the harvest bench, obviously, where I just spam clicking reforge defense. I have my exalts and I have my annulment orbs ready to go in my stash. Okay, so here's a good one. So we hit 35% increase effect, but we hit 2 other really random mods, right? So what we want to do here is we actually want to try to annul off the other 2 mods and then try to exalt slam them again, which is what I did there. But you can see that the first time we annulled it, we annulled the 1 mod that we want, so no luck. Let's go again. So here's another one. We did hit the T1 energy shield, so we try to annul once, annul twice, second annul fails, go again. T1 energy shield, we hit. Exalt suffix, bad suffixes, so it just keeps on exalting and then until you hit something, right? If you don't succeed on the exalt, you just have to pray that you can annul it off. Well, it's dead. But that was pretty lucky streak. We got like 7 or 8 tries, which is pretty good. Here we go again. Exalt, bam, that is perfect. Okay, so this is exactly what we want to look for. So this is step by step perfect to what I was describing in my kind of like optimal crafting attempts. So we hit the T1 energy shield, we exalt it on, which is a 1 in 40 exalt, the 35% increase effect. So now our prefix is done, one of our suffixes is done. We have a 1 in 20 chance to hit one of either attack speed or all attributes or all resistances. Yeah. So of the 3, I do want to get an all resistances because that makes my build so much better, easier to gear and stuff like that. But really, beggars can't be choosers. I think I slammed it again, but I missed on the first one. Let's see what happens. I think I was in disbelief. I think this is the first time I've seen this combination in my crafting process. I do see this quite a bit later on. So I think I was quite excited. I was checking the math. I'm like, oh, is this gonna be like a 1 in 20? Did I do my math wrong? What's gonna happen here? And then bam, we're gonna slam it. 3% code resistance. Hate to see that. And this is where I got really excited, right? Because not only did we hit, the perfect kind of 3 mods, we fucked up the 4th one. We didn't make it, but we annulled it, so we saved it, and we have a chance to go again. Another attempt and a 1 in 20. Let's see how we go. There you go. Done. 4 to all attributes. It's really interesting because in any other intelligence stacking build, this would be the perfect drill. But because of the way that the Trickster build is put together, because typically you would have a much better weapon, right? If you think about your in-stacking wonders, you will have a much faster attacking weapon. So as it turns out, attack speed is the best 4th mod when, in the past, right? If you're doing in-stacking, this is the perfect drill that you want because you want to have that additional kind of like stacking ability, right? That additional 4 all attributes really helps pushing your intelligence even higher, and it also helps with your strength and dexterity problems as well. You can see I was very happy with this. I didn't expect to hit it this fast. I think this was only like maybe 10 divines in terms of rolling, so we did get pretty lucky on the first one. So moving on right ahead, this is how I hit the second jewel. So the second one, it's a 35% increase effect. So I actually started rolling these with fossils. I've burned through, gosh, let me check how many. It's on my spreadsheet. So like I didn't mention it in the main video, but I will link this spreadsheet below. You can see how many things I've used to actually try to craft these 3 jewels. I used 600 fundamental fossils and chaotic resonators in step 1. Yeah. And when rolling this jewel, so the jewel in Battle Show in particular, that jewel itself, I used 400 fundamental fossils. Isn't that crazy? Isn't that absolutely crazy? I used 400 fundamental fossils to roll this jewel, and I did not succeed. I was very tilted, and I swapped over to harvest. I redid the math. I swapped over I checked harvest. Harvest is so much better. Right? You see how easily we hit the this combination again, which I was talking about before, which is having 3 of the perfect mods onto your jewel. I think I just rolled over a T1 intelligence. I could be wrong there. It is so much easier using harvest bench. I would not use fossils. I would always use harvest bench. You can target something. You can target the mod you want. You can get lucky. It is miles better. And by the way, just to pause the video here a little bit, 400 fundamental fossils is 20 divines, right? The chaotic resonators, 400 of them, that's 6 divines. I spent 26 divines, right, on fossils, and I had nothing to show for it. Come over to the harvest bench. How much is 50,000 juice? 6 divines. Right? For a fraction of the cost, I get so many more rolls and so many more attempts at hitting the jackpot. Trust me, do not use fossils. Harvest bench is the way to go. And here we have one where we hit a T1 intelligence. I can't remember if this is the one we got it. We're quite lucky on the nose. We're salvaging the item quite a bit. Ah, no, I died. Never mind. I was getting excited for a second. Another T1 intelligence. Nope, that's dead as well. Yeah, it's just a process. You just keep on clicking the button and you hope you hit. T1, yes, no, it's dead again. And the thing is that you can't really reject to have the item light up when something good happens, because I think the reject only works for the harvest options. So, okay, another T1 ES. What do we get here? Dexterity, that's not good, and the item's dead. Let's go again. T1. You can see how frequently we hit T1 ES. That's the amazing thing about harvest. You just hit so often. You have way more tries, and at the end of the day, for such a low, odds, low probability of success craft, you want to increase your sample space. You want to increase your number of attempts as much as possible. I think we're getting quite close because I can see the video is about to time out. I think on this one, yep, max ES, slam it, 4% all attributes. I was like, should I annul it? Maybe not. Okay, it's dead. Okay, but we save the T1 ES, get strength, annul strength, T1 intelligence, and here we go. Slammed it yet again, right? Let me just rewind that a little bit. So we annul off the fire res, we slam strength, we annul off the strength, we slam T1 intelligence. This is again the perfect state you want to get to. You have your prefixes fully done, you have your T1 intelligence. It's a 1 in 20 now to hit. And boy, do we hit. 4 to all attributes. Amazing. Now, it'll be much better if we hit an attack speed or all attribute, or the all res one, so I can show you guys, hey, it is, possible to hit the other ones, but as luck would have it, all 3 of my cluster jewels came out with attributes. But hey, that's fine. That's fine. So, onto crafting for the 3rd jewel. Well, it's really more of the same thing, but I was just testing something a bit different. So I didn't actually craft this one from scratch. So I already had this drill prepared from before, but just gonna pause the video here. You can see that this drill is actually not attacks while holding a shield. This is axe attacks of increased damage and sword attacks of increased damage. It's pretty much the same thing as the shield one, but I think the shield one has a slightly better odds with the prefixes compared to this one, just due to the fact that you can roll different notables on these. So I think the shield one is still better, but like by a tiny amount. We're talking about the second decimal place. Sorry, we're talking about the fourth decimal place. It's like 0.07% or something like that difference. So I think for this drill, it's easier to hit on the suffixes and harder to hit on the prefixes, or the other way around. I can't remember exactly. It's not a material difference. So you can use these if you have them. You don't have to use a shield with a tax one. I think that's my understanding. Please correct me in the comments if I'm wrong here. But here we go. We did hit T1 ES. We hit something that okay, the thing's dead. As you guys, it's the same process, right? I can sit here all night, and I have sat here all night rolling these. So now you get to hear me whinge about spending all night rolling these. Oh, that's pretty good. We hit well, that's kind of dead now, isn't it? Oh, we saved it. Look at that. T1 ES again. Sometimes you get lucky with a nose. You know, it's yeah. Bam! Look at that. We hit T1 ES. Slam down T1 intelligence again. Same as the optimal strategy. I'm telling you, it's optimal because it's the best strategy. We have the perfect item, setting up for the last slam for the suffix. We have, you know, perfect prefixes. We have the T1 intelligence. Now it's a 1 in 20 to hit the suffix that way you want. Do we hit it? No. Why am I not slamming? Okay, there we go. Bam! +4 attributes. I was quite depressed at this point. I really wanted for it to be +4 resistances or +3 attack speed, just to show you guys, hey, I'm not actually lying to you guys. It can show up. But hey, I came out with 3 perfect intelligence stacking drills. I'm not going to complain about it. Okay, I think that's it for today. I'll just talk over some more footage of me crafting the drills. Thank you so much for watching. This is probably the last video I'm going to do for this league. I've spent all my money trying to pursue the perfect cluster drill. I think I've definitely found the most optimal way to do it, which is nice, but I'm also really burnt out from this craft. It is so boring to do, like you guys would not believe. You guys don't have to believe me, you guys can try it out for yourself. Anyways, please give me a like and subscribe if you haven't. Good luck on your crafting journeys. Hopefully you hit the cluster drills in very, very few exalts and annals, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye bye.